For more on this now, I'm joined by Shadow Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Ted O'Brien. Ted, I think what staggers Australians is we're already pinched. We're already feeling cost of living. We get this mandate come out, Bowen's breakneck speed to get these electric vehicles into the market, but he's punishing us because some of these cars, a Land Cruiser, for example, up by $25,000. They're expensive anyway. How can we afford this?
Well, Peter, we can't. And today I went to a Toyota dealership in Western Sydney, actually Chris Bowen's electorate.
Yep. And
in speaking with people there, you're right, the Land Cruiser, $25,000 that'll go up. The Hilux, $15,000. This is an outright tax. So mums and dads can't afford it.
No.
They can't afford to drive the cars they love. Tradies, they can't afford to buy the cars they need. And when you talk to the dealers themselves, they are worried that Australia's most favourite vehicles might actually be pulled off the Australian market just so that the manufacturers can meet Chris Bowen's targets. So, look, it's a big tax. He calls it a fuel efficiency scheme or standard, but really it's a tax.
Because he's basically making a cap per manufacturer. Am I right?
Correct.
Yeah, and if they go outside the cap, that's when these big price penalties hit.
Exactly. So they say to a manufacturer, you need to reduce emissions by 60% across your entire fleet on average over a 5-year period. And so what happens, they say, well, if you look at Australia's most favourite ones, so, the Ranger, the Hilux, the D-Max, our 3 most favourite vehicles go above the threshold required. So what happens? You boost the price of those up, so you sell fewer of them, and you bring the price down of EVs to sell more of them. So you are restricting choice for consumers.
It's tough if you're a regional person, though, because
really
you have to have some of those vehicles, not by choice, but because of your geography or the job you do. And also our market in Australia, given we're, right-hand drive, is quite small.
Yeah, very small, completely different. And this is where I think Labor just has a tin ear on this stuff. People who want EVs should be given the right to purchase EVs. But if you don't want one, or your lifestyle can't afford it, then you need to have other choices. You can't, this is again a case of Labor just being big government. So we will decide what cars you must drive, just as they are saying we will decide what form of energy you must use.
So talk to me about the US, because, I watch what's happening in Europe. They're starting to wind things back or put things on pause. There's all this talk that we won't actually go down the path of mass EVs. We could go down the path of hydrogen or any number of technologies that are still not yet firmed up. But what's happening in the United States that Bowen's so out of step with now?
So Bowen said he was basing this efficiency standard on the US, but now we have President Biden basically pulling up the handbrake on his efficiency standards. Why? Because sales of EVs are going down, they don't have the infrastructure in place, and consumers in the US are pushing back saying, we can't afford this. But Chris Bowen, instead of displaying humility, he's displaying hubris. He's not pulling up the brake. No, he's putting his foot on the pedal and saying, let's just go harder.
I have to say, just on EVs, I'll go to something else, but I do not want to be a woman at 11 o'clock at night in the middle of a country highway, standing there waiting, an hour and a half, if there's a charger available and it's operable, for my car to charge. I want to fill up and go and feel secure and get on the road. Just talk to me, though, regional renewable issues and a backlash from communities. Last year, it was happening in pockets where there are big developments coming. I'm flooded with people on email. I'm sure you are too. It's right across the board. And communities, they don't just want the eyesore, sure. They're worried about the remediation when the solar farm doesn't work anymore. It's lucky to get a 20-year life. They're worried that they're being taken for granted, run roughshod over. They're worried about farmers, and they're not seeing people in the cities pull their weight with this renewables rollout. Is that fair?
Peter, it's not fair, and you're right that it's getting worse. And so, but here's the thing, we're just at the beginning of this. If you look at Labor's plan, this will get worse and worse, and I think it's going to get ugly. Because what Labor is doing, they're going to regional communities. And I've been there, I've been on the ground, I've held forums, I've done all that stuff. And we're not talking about regional people who are saying, I hate this particular technology. These are just people who are proud of their way of life. They love the forest. They love the animals, the habitat, the environment, the ocean. And basically they have a government that is displaying reckless indifference towards their way of life. And they're Australians. And you know what it's like? You push Australians against the wall and, my God, do you see a pushback? And that is what is happening in regional Australia because they are not being listened to. Labor have targets they've set and they're falling short, and instinctively they are getting desperate and just ploughing ahead and steamrolling over people.
Ted O'Brien, thank you. And
Thank you, Peter.
I get feedback saying that you're terrific on the ground when you go to these community forums. People feel like they're being heard, so well done on that as well.
Appreciate it.